Hey, quick message to neurotypical wives out there. Have you been giving your power away to your ASD husband? Oh, you have? And for how many years? Oh, from day one? So that means decades? So what I mean is in fact, most of the NT wives I work with, they think along the lines of, well, he has to say and do certain things in order for me to be okay inside. And he has to avoid saying and doing those things in order for me to be okay inside. Because he's in charge of my feelings. Yep. He dictates my level of happiness, level of contentment. That's called giving your power away. Hey, I got news for you. Your ASD husband can't make you mad, sad, glad, resentful. He can't make you stand on your head. He can't make you spit. He doesn't have that kind of power. Why would you give your power away like that? That is so dangerous. So dangerous. NT wives make their mistake by giving too much and then blaming their ASD husband for their unhappiness. She needs to recognize how she's contributed to the problem. If she's always picking up the slack, then he never feels like she needs him to do some of the slack picking up. So, to all the NT wives out there, encourage your ASD husband to give more by appreciating what he does give. Okay? Then he'll feel needed. And when he feels needed, you'll get more cooperation from him. So, message to neurodiverse couples out there. If your spouse is complaining about something that you said or did, and then you complain about the fact that they're complaining, you're no better than they are. If your spouse is yelling or giving you the silent treatment, and then you get upset and yell back or give them the silent treatment, you're no better than they are. If your spouse is having a temper tantrum, and then you get upset and have a tantrum because they're having a tantrum, you're no better than they are. So why don't you be the one that can regulate his or her emotions? Why don't you be the more mature one? The ASD husband is very independent and autonomous, and he prides himself in doing things all by himself. When the NT wife tries to correct him or tell him what to do, and her heart's in the right place, she has the mom brain, but he gets offended and he doesn't want to hear it. So he says to himself, she thinks I don't know what to do or that I can't do it on my own. She doesn't trust my ability. So he stops listening to her corrections, which makes her feel offended because she's just trying to do a nurturing, caring thing. And there we go with this dance again. Okay, so a little message to the neurodiverse couples out there. When the two of you have a knockdown, drag-out, brutal fight or argument, don't do a post-argument analysis in your head. Don't try to analyze, okay, what happened, why. Whenever you try to analyze the motivation and behavior of somebody else in the heat of the moment, and you try to make sense of it, I can promise your analysis will mostly be off. In fact, I'll go so far as to say your analysis won't be in the ballpark. It won't even be in the parking lot of the ballpark. Don't analyze. It's just going to make you feel even worse. So, if you're resentful just because your spouse is resentful, you're in the same rabbit hole that he or she is in. And if you're angry because your spouse is angry, you're in the same rabbit hole that he or she is in. And if you're offended because your spouse is offended, same rabbit hole. Maybe don't follow that person down that rabbit hole.
Emotional intelligence has 5 skills. It's the ability to connect with others through nonverbal communication. It's the ability to quickly reduce stress. It's the ability to recognize and manage your emotions. It's the ability to resolve conflict positively. And it's the ability to use humor and play when you're dealing with serious relationship challenges. How good is he in any of those? In the emotional intelligence department, if you were his teacher and you were giving him a grade, would he get a big fat F- on his emotional skills? Mm-hmm. And you want to label it what? What do you want to label it? What have you labeled it?
Okay, quick question to the NTYs out there. When is the last time you did something with your autistic husband that he enjoyed? I said, when was the last time you engaged in an activity with your ASD spouse that he enjoys? Oh, that long ago, huh? Some NTs go, well, yeah, I used to join in when he would do such and such, but it was so boring. And some NTYs go, no, well, there's nothing that he does that he has an interest in that I could actually participate in. Really? You may want to rethink that thing, because I'm guessing that he has something that he enjoys that you could join in on.
Quick message to neurodiverse couples where one person's autistic, the other one is not. Things will never, ever get better until you do this, and that is admit that you have a download problem. In other words, you're making an assessment about the other person's behavior. You're coming to conclusions about why they said something. You're making up a story, okay? They said or did this and they shouldn't be saying or doing that. They're supposed to be doing this instead. Why are they doing this? How come they always say that? How come we never yada, yada, yada? So you're trying to make sense of the other person's behavior and the motivation behind that behavior. And 99.9% of the time, your assessment is off. You think you're an expert assessor. No, you're below an amateur assessor of why the other people are doing the things that they're doing, why they're saying the things that they're saying, the motivation for doing and saying these things. You miss the mark almost every time. Statistically, you miss the mark so much that I wouldn't have any faith in your assessments of why the other person is doing what they're doing or saying what they're saying and the motivation behind that. You're downloading their behavior, you're coming to a conclusion, and it's always wrong. Always wrong. Now, I'm not saying that 100% of your assessment is wrong. Maybe 2 or 3% of your assessment has some validity to it. Statistically, do you want to count on that kind of an assessment? I wouldn't. If I went to a surgeon and he goes, well, we have a 3% success rate, I would not want to use that surgeon. If I'm downloading other people's behavior and I have a 3 to 5% success rate of accurately portraying it in alignment with the reality of what's going on, I'm not going to trust my assessments. So things will not get better until you admit that you have a download problem.
You can multitask cognitively. He cannot. So if you bring up problem 1 and then 30 minutes into the conversation, which is way too long, you're now on problem 5 or 6, you lost him way back there at the 5-minute mark. And so you're just wasting your time and energy and oxygen at that point because he's not getting it. He might sit there and look like he's getting it. So it would be best to tackle one issue at a time. If a second issue comes up, just maybe catch it and go, okay, well, really, that's probably a slightly different issue. I'll broach that later. A lot of the NTYs run into the trap of thinking that no, this is not a separate topic. It ties into that one. No, I don't want anything that ties into that one. You have no problem seeing the big picture. He has a big problem seeing the big picture, and you will go on to a second point, and you think it's the same point. No, it's not to him. He does not think globally like that. He does not have the ability to generalize and see the big picture. So you're going to have to stay very tight on that one topic. And it can't be 1A, 1B, and 1C. That won't work. You can do that, and you do it well. That's one of your strengths. He ain't got that strength.
Hey guys, this is Mark, and I have a message to the neurodiverse couples out there.
and I'm not referring to one particular spouse, this is for the NT spouse and the ASD spouse both, chronic anger is resentment. That's point number one. Chronic anger is resentment. Point number two, chronic anger and resentment will cause physical health problems. Chronic anger and resentment will cause cancer in some cases, autoimmune disease, heart disease, high blood pressure, brain fog, and so on. That's point number two. Point number three is really a question, and I want you to ask yourself, you're going to compare you to your spouse, who is having the most physical health problems? You or the other party? And who seems to be the most resentful? And is the one who's having the most health problems also the one who's possibly the most resentful? Do some soul searching on that. You simply have to find some good in your spouse. I don't care how much this person has been misbehaving according to you, but he's got to be, or she has got to be doing something right. So you've got to find some good in your spouse somewhere. Otherwise, you're going to be very miserable. Tip for neurodiverse couples: you have wasted 80% of your time and energy trying to control the things you can't control. Now, there was 20% that you did spend time and energy on that you did control. But if you will stop wasting that 80% and apply a full 100% to the things that you can control, you'll be able to control them much more quickly and much more efficiently. Would you like to schedule a paid private coaching session? This will be in the form of a face-to-face Zoom call. Underneath any of my videos, you'll see this Calendly link. If you click on that link, it'll open up my calendar. You can pick the available days and times that works for your schedule. You'll get a follow-up email immediately after purchasing a session that will have the Zoom link that coincides with the day and time that you picked. I will get an email too that you scheduled a session, and I will be available on that exact day and time, and we will talk. I look forward to working with you.